Hey everyone!
It's time for our monthly book haul. Woo!
That is correct.
I'm very excited.
Well, in which case, let's kick this off.
Let's kick things off by talking about what I received from publishers for review this month.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm going to start with the digital stuff this time. I have a few things that I got
a few digital things too.
NetGalley. So first is a sequel, The Bone Shard Emperor, which is by Andrew Stewart. This is the follow-up to last year's The Bone Shard Daughter. In this sequel, there is a heroine who now has to contend with being in a very powerful position, only to find herself confronting new enemies. And that is the least spoilery way for me to tell you about the sequel. I'm very excited to read it. It's on my November TBR. Next, we have Dauntless, which is by Eliza A. Bonin, and this description is literally what sold it. It was literally a one-sentence description. I'm like, okay. It's a teen girl must bring together two broken worlds in order to save her nation in this lush, Filipino-inspired young adult fantasy.
Cool.
This book is not out until August 2022, so it's going to be a while before I get to it. But honestly, if you tell me it has a, Filipino inspiration behind the story, and it's a fantasy book,
oh yeah, totally.
Pretty much here for it. Then we have a rom-com book from Rachel Lynn Solomon. It's called Weather Girl, and in this one, a TV meteorologist and a sports reporter, they team up to reunite their divorced bosses. And of course, who ends up falling in love in this story? Probably not those bosses.
Probably not the bosses.
Speaking of comedies, we have Four Aunties and a Wedding, which is the follow-up to this year's Dial A for Aunties. In this one, the main character, Medi, is getting married. She ends up telling, her aunties and her mom, like, I don't want you guys to plan the wedding. I want you to enjoy it. So they hire this other outside company, only it seems like this outside company is actually the family, and they're involved with the mafia. So I'm assuming more shenanigans are going to ensue. And I'm so ready. So ready. The last digital thing I'm going to mention is called Once Upon a K-Prom. There's this girl, she's not really big into prom, and then she gets asked to go to prom by a Korean pop star who also happens to be her childhood best friend, who they had an agreement 7 years ago that they would go to prom together. So he's back, and he made, he asked her to go with him, and things kind of ensue from there. So I'm pretty excited about that one. I'm not going to lie, it's very cute. Okay, and then physically I got a couple of things, just a few. So I have a finished copy of Well Matched by Jen Deluca. This is the third book in her Well Met series. It is about two characters we actually meet right at the beginning of the series. Mitch and April. April is, her daughter is finally going off to college. She's finally going to get to sort of get her life back really and do what she wants. But she finds herself questioning all of that, especially as she's starting to get ready. So one of the things she has to do is like prepare her house, get it ready for to sell it so that she can move somewhere else. And she asks Mitch to help in exchange for being Mitch's fake girlfriend for this family thing that he has to go to. Things kind of escalate from there in a good way. And then we have Written in the Stars, which is by Alexandria Bellefleur. I love this cover. With nods to Bridget Jones's Diary and Pride and Prejudice, Alexandra Bellefleur delivers a charming rom-com about a free-spirited astrologer who agrees to fake a relationship with an uptight actuary, with results not even the stars could predict. Listen, I'm here for it. Fake dating, totally in.
Done.
Totally in. And the last thing I'm going to show you actually came fairly recently in a box. So it's packed with stuff. So let's talk about the goodies. There is a pack of cotton candy.
And who doesn't love cotton candy?
There is a tiny, I don't know if it's a bracelet or actually a crown. I think it's a crown personally because it's just so cute.
It's a bracelet in the shape of a crown.
Yes.
Is my suspicion.
Wrapped carefully in bubble wrap was a, ooh, I like the shape of this glass.
Yeah, it's one of those glasses.
It says Honeycomb High Homecoming. It's shaped like a soda bottle.
Yeah,
Oh no, soda can, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's one of those soda can shaped glasses, which I think is pretty dope.
There is note pal. Oh, look how cute these sticky notes are. They're donuts and cupcakes.
I like donuts and cupcakes.
It's great.
We have donuts sitting on the table right now.
And we have a very shiny pen, which, I like sparkly things, and it's blue. So
and
like,
it's got like a
I love it. I'm living for it.
Setting. I may steal this just because.
It's mine. I like shiny things. Don't take it away from me.
I like the shiny.
My precious.
We're like a couple of crows right now. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, the book in the box was Cupcake, which is by Cookie O'Gorman, and the tagline says, "If the tiara fits, wear it." I honestly have no idea what this one is about. I didn't even know it was coming in the mail, but it has a very cute cover, and you know me, I'm a sucker for like a good like sort of YA contemporary with a dash of romance, so guess
for sure. Yeah, absolutely. You're kidding?
Yeah, so that is the end of my things that I got from Publishers Hall.
Wonderful.
I think it's your turn now. Would you like to start with, I guess, your digital?
That's right. You know me. I'm Mr. Digital when it comes to all of like my stuff. So one of the most exciting things that... I like that one. That was cute. Okay. All right.
I can be funny.
Yeah, absolutely kidding. Like, anyway. So, Animorphs 2: The Visitor is finally out.
Oh, yes, yes.
I've read it also, by the way. And it is just so good. Just really, really good to the point where I'm just like, please don't come out with these books every year, because I will no longer be walking this good green earth by the time we end it. I mean, who's gonna be here 54 years later? Plus
you, out of spite, because you want to finish the series.
True. Plus like 3 Chronicles and like 4 Megamorphs. Like,
I wonder if they'll even do the Megamorphs and Chronicles.
Well, if they skip all of like the fillers, right? Like the Helmicrons and all the other stuff. But anyway, the Animorphs is a story about 5 ordinary teenagers. No, like, no, 5 teenagers who decide who decide to one day just randomly go through an abandoned construction site on the way home from the mall, and while doing so witness an alien crash land into sort of like a space. Tells them that the Earth is under invasion by an alien species called the Yeerks, who are parasitic species that enter into your ear canal. Any sentient, well, not even sentient, but any host body large enough that it can sort of control its brain. That's what they're called. They're called controllers. And are given Andalite technology to morph any creature that they can acquire the DNA of, as long as they can touch it. So it's just...
Such a simple concept.
It is so good. Problems all aside, Will Wheaton had like a really great take on how do you deal with problematic stuff and still love like stuff. And while it's not so much the series itself as I believe the author, one of them, not Catherine, right? not Catherine Applegate, actually. It's her other half, her partner, I believe, has sort of like bumped into some controversy, and who hasn't these days, unfortunately. But despite that, it's such a really good series. Again, I will just sort of like go. Will Wheaton had a post about problematic stuff and how you can enjoy stuff.
We'll link to it down below.
Yeah, it's super cool. Anyway, so super fun. Speaking of problematic, I have Why the Last Man on my pile finally. The series sort of went on sale, so of course I snagged that. I've read Why the Last Man like ages ago. There's a TV series now that unfortunately got canceled. Oh, that's but also I watched it and I'm just like, okay, I get it. But
why it got canceled?
It's Brian K. Vaughan. Who cancels Brian K. Vaughan on TV? But it's just, I feel like it was a little clunky in the translation to the like visual media of it, because I had to reread the first part versus the pilot episode, and I'm just like, oh, all right, if you're canceling this, then that sucks, but okay. So there's that. Why the Last Man, by the way, is a super plague, destroys and kills every single living creature with a Y chromosome, with the exception of Yorick, which is, again, his first name starts with a Y, and his monkey Ampersand. So Yorick and Ampersand are the last living creatures that possess a Y chromosome.
All right.
What I loved about the TV series, though, was there was like, so all the men are doing, it's like, no, we've got some men, it's just, they don't have a Y chromosome. And I thought, cool, I like that part of the TV series. Everything else, though, anywho. Second to the last thing that I have on my pad, which I'm super excited about, is Berserker. Keanu Reeves wrote this. Yeah, you heard me. Keanu Reeves. I
had no idea.
Clearly. The High Emperor of all cinnamon rolls. Benign and benevolent leader of all things good and true. Wrote a series about like this immortal, unkillable berserker that looks suspiciously like
him,
John Wick.
Oh.
So, I mean, like with the beard and the hair, and I'm just like, also that Neo character from that new Matrix movie looks just like that character too. Anyway, I don't even need to know what's in it. I just know that it's born from his love of like action and all of this stuff. So totally got that. I lied. It's not second to the last thing. It's actually third to the last. So second to the last is actually a book called Lawn Boy. It's by Jonathan Evison. It recently got banned by schools because it's terrible. There's like graphic content that shouldn't be for kids, and I thought, nothing's that's what they did to Slaughterhouse-5. So, but nothing screams read it like don't read it. And I did, and I did not see it like a problem with it. I'm one of those who are just like, oh, I mean, yeah, some of it's a little bit graphic and some of it is kind of triggery, spoil, like whatever, but at the same time it's not something that you have to like keep the children away from this. It's fine. Like it's all right. Like it was like it is graphic. Like you, like, I mean, and that's still out there. Not that it's on the children's recommended.
I was about to be like, I don't think children read. Well, You were a child when you read it, so.
I was a child when I watched it. I'm talking the Jonathan Brandis version, but anyway. So there's that, and then certainly not least, Daughter of the Deep is finally out. I love that so much. It is I want to say, tied to the lore of the Nautilus and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yes.
Written by Rick Riordan. So Uncle Rick has done it again. I don't know how well he's done it, but I will find out soon enough.
Don't we want to know?
Don't we want to know?
I know, we're still behind on his own mythology stuff. Well, I'm still behind.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I also have a digital haul as well. A smaller one than I usually have. So the first book I'm going to mention is Peace and Turmoil, which is by Elliot Brooks. Elliot actually has her own booktube channel, which I will link down below. I enjoy watching her videos tremendously, and I'm excited to read her book. It is political, court intrigue type fantasy, where there are countries who are vying for a position of power, basically, and I am very curious about it, so I finally got that.
Cool.
I also have Phoenix Unbound by Grace Draven. In this book, there is a woman with sort of the power to harness fire or use fire and illusion, and an enslaved son of a chieftain who battle a corrupt empire together. So, you know, it's a romantic fantasy, so there's a romance in there somewhere. I also got a digital copy of Boyfriend Material, which is by Alexis Hall. This is a fake dating story between a sort of famous kid of a rock star and this very serious barrister. That obviously becomes more than fake dating when they develop feelings. See, fake dating, it's a thing.
It's 100% a thing.
I also have Stay With Me, which is the 4th book in the Wait For You series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is an older series from her. I don't actually know who this book is about. I have read the first 3, I want to say, and I enjoyed them, so I wanted to continue getting some of JLA's stuff. Then I have the Thursday Murder Club, which is by Richard Osman. I read this with my sisters and cousin for our book club for October. It's about 4 septuagenarians who end up getting involved in a murder mystery case. And it's fascinating to me. I think it's just entertaining if you're able to suspend your disbelief a little bit, because, you know,
I mean, who doesn't love it when old people get, like...
they poke their nose into other people's business. It's really, that's what it is. The next book is Pestilence, which is by Laura Thalassa. This is the first book in her 4 Horsemen series. This is also a romantic fantasy series of sorts. So the 4 horsemen are coming to the earth. Obviously, their goal is to destroy all of humanity. And in this first book, someone, a female, stands up against Pestilence, and it leads to an eventual romance. I don't know how, but, you know. Then we have Her Husband's Harlot, which is the first book in the Mayhem in Mayfair series by Grace Calloway. In this one, they get married, but both of them are under the impression that they have to prove something to the other person. And so she ends up, she's a bit of a wallflower, and so she ends up being like, I have to, you know, live up to what he's expecting. But then she ends up following him, and she pretends to be someone who's more experienced, I should say.
Right.
And that kind of entangles them in a lie, but then there's something in the guy's past that comes to sort of haunt their relationship. It's a whole thing. Historical romance. Am I right? I'm gonna also talk about a couple of other things that I got before Mackie can go back. So first, and most important, I'm kidding, not most important, but very important.
Certainly very important.
It's not a book, but this is a booklet that we got when we went to see the latest My Hero Academia movie in theaters recently, World Heroes Mission, which was great. I enjoyed it tremendously.
Really good.
I
really good
love
stuff.
Seeing these characters in a brand new story that sort of has nothing to do with canon really, but is entertaining nonetheless. It's a fun little booklet with a little bit of info about the design for the movie, the story, you know, all that good stuff. So it was exclusive, I think, exclusively handed out at theater showings for
That's right, yeah.
film. So, you know, had to mention that. And then my friend DJ and I traded books. So he gave me 2 books that he was getting rid of. The first is Of Silver and Shadow, which is by Jennifer Grunke, I want to say. I honestly have no idea what this is about. I just know that it is a fantasy story. And it's I think it's a revenge story, actually. Hold on.
And who doesn't love those?
Oh no, it's a rebellion story where the prince gets involved. The prince of a kingdom gets involved with the rebellion. As well. So, you know, here for it. And then he also passed on his copy of The Witch's Heart, which is by Genevieve Goynechek. This is a Loki inspired story.
Oh, hey!
Or it has
I like
Loki
that.
in it, which I obviously am very into, and I've been wanting to get this book this entire year, and I'm so glad I ended up waiting since I ended up getting it from DJ, so that worked out very well in my favor.
Fun.
Okay, now for a couple books I bought myself. This is part 1, because this is the random stuff I bought myself.
Sure.
So first is The Atlas Six, which is by Olivia Blake. I actually read this back in September with Danica. It is dark academia. It's adult that sort of is written in a very dense way, and it took me a while to get through, but basically the concept is there's this secret society that gives its members access to the long-lost Library of Alexandria.
Sure.
And these people are capable of wielding magics of very special types. And so the current batch of people has to undergo sort of like the training and the testing. And the final thing is that they have to decide which one of them is not going to move forward, you know, after all of that. And it is dark. It is told in a very interesting way. I'm curious to see how the series continues forward, especially after how it ends. Again, one of those things where it's like, it ends like that. And I'm like, and then how are you going to fix it? Or are you going to fix it?
Or are you going to fix it?
Then I got another thing that's sort of a sequel. It's Tales from the Cafe, which is by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold earlier this year, and I really liked it. It's basically about a cafe where you can sit down and have coffee, a conversation with someone. You can sort of time travel to the past to see someone, but it only lasts for as long as the coffee is hot. Once it gets cold, the whole time travel part is done and you have to come back. And so this is sort of more story set at that cafe, which is fascinating.
Awesome.
Then we have a new release called Luminous, which has this cover, and I'm pretty interested in it. It says, her sister has been taken, and the only boy she's ever loved has disappeared. To get them back, she'll have to use the magic she's always feared. Ooh, rhymey.
Rhymey.
So, obviously, I'm a sucker for stories where there's like a sister aspect. I also love the stories where it's like she's a reluctant magic user, but her power might be the only thing that can, you know, right everything that's wrong. So, very excited about that.
I appreciate.
Speaking of new release, I'm excited about this one because it's holiday vibes and I'm ready.
We're almost there.
So we have a book called The Holiday Switch, which is by Tiff Marcello. Honestly, did not need to know anything else about this because Tiff Marcello is a Filipino-American author. I have enjoyed her other books. This is her first YA book, I want to say. And it's basically set at Christmas time, and that's all I want.
It's beautiful.
In October, I went up to Stowe in Vermont with my friend Rachel, and while we were there, obviously we dropped into a couple of bookstores. And what I ended up picking up is actually something that's a little out of character for me. It's a poetry collection, and it's by Mary Oliver. This is Devotions. So I am fascinated by all the quotes I've ever seen from Mary Oliver. They're always ones that grab my attention. She has this way of writing about and incorporating nature into her work, and I find that fascinating. So I felt like this would be a good pick, considering like we went on this vacation and it was very centered around nature as well. So that's how I ended up picking up that. This has been pushed back a couple of times. Finally came out. I totally did not know when it was getting pushed back to, so when it showed up in the mail, I was like, This is the 5th volume of Wotakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku. I don't think it's the last one, but I'm very excited because I remember reading the one before this and I was like, that's where it ends? I don't get more? Like I don't get more?
And now you get another
And now
one.
I do. So I actually feel like I'm going to reread the first 4 because it's been so long. And you know, just have a lot of warm and fuzzy feelings about these corporate worker otakus.
That's true.
You know, like us.
Pretty much.
Another new release, another book that DJ influenced me to buy is Lake's Edge, which is by Lyndall Clipstone, and it has this cover. And then the basic summary is that the main character would do anything to help or save her brother, and though she and her brother end up making a deal with someone who lives on this sort of gothic mansion by a lake. That's pretty much all I know about it. It kind of gives me Beauty and the Beast vibes, so here for it. And last but not least is a very random purchase. It is Sister Song, which is by Lucy Holland. It has this fabulous cover. This is a new adult fantasy release, and it says, in the ancient kingdom of Domnonia, there is old magic to be found in the whisper of the wind, the roots of the trees, and the curl of the grass. King Cater knew this once, but now that the land is turned from him, calling instead to his 3 children. Calls to the 3 children. All 3 of them are basically the last line of defense against the invading Saxons in this one. And they also end up entangled in a sort of magical conflict as well, which is something that they're going to have to face in order to save the land they love so much, which sounds great. And I'm looking forward to reading that as well.
So, Brandon Mull finally came out with book 5 of the Dragon Watch series. Dragon Watch is the second cycle of books in the Fablehaven universe. The first 5 focusing on Kendra and Seth Sorensen. I believe they are a brother and sister pair who who discover that their grandparents are basically caretakers of this magical reserve where all of the magical mythical creatures just sort of like stick to that in that particular continent. There are several apparently after the events of the first 5 books, which were pretty apocalyptic, as I have said during the possibility pile, because I'm still reading this. The dragons were like, we actually want to, like, you know, get all uppity and in everybody's face, and they're like, no, please stay where you are, and they're like, no. So and so the dragons. So the dragons are out. The Dragon Watch needs to sort of come back. Seth and Kendra now have to assume different roles, and because the stakes are not so much higher, but are back to the same apocalyptic level now. This time with dragons. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen there. Moving forward, I've got a Comic-Con haul.
Oh yeah,
which is super fun. Haul. I'm going to start with If My Heart Had Wings, which is a visual. Sorry, not a visual novel. It is a visual novel. It is a visual novel. It's a VN. The first one I've ever encountered in my life. It's a dude who comes home to like his hometown and sort of like finds himself and reconnects with a bunch of people and connects with a bunch of new ones. The art is stunning. Yeah, it is. The pace is jarring because we're just like, and it took Alexa.
We're just used to certain things.
We're just used to like reading on your own time and then beautiful visuals, and there's not enough movement and there's like way too few lines. So I think it's one of those things where you just enjoy the moment. For something as let the story unfold as this. It's a little meandering. Yeah, so. But that's just the experience of it. So I guess this is really for a specific demographic. Anyway, we'll reserve the review for when I've actually done it, if at all. So there's that. Bunch of graphic novels from Comic-Con. I want to start with the Black Sands set of novels, graphic novels. I was able to grab Ultimate Editions 1 and 2. So Black Sands right here, super cool. Was able to grab these from Manuel Godoy and David Lenormand, right? And super good stuff. It's set in ancient Egypt. Obviously, there's powers.
Love it.
I have the DVD of sort of like the animated version sitting on my shelf right now. That was kind of cool. I was able to grab this and sort of like I want to say the next like 2 issues in like loose format. That's not really what it's called.
Issues.
But to me,
single issues.
Single issues. There you go. Loose format.
Why do I know that?
I don't know. Maybe because you're just more attuned to the publishing world. Anyway, also managed to meet Holly Rosing for her Boston Metaphysical Society graphic novel,
pretty good.
which is really. I think that one of the artists was there too. I just forget right now who it was, but it is urban paranormal steampunk historical. Cool.
Interesting mix.
Yeah, so I'm totally down for that. So powers, steampunk, I guess Boston. So, because why not?
Maybe they travel the world, you never know.
Maybe they did travel the world, I'm not sure. I got a really cool bookmark as well for that one. And then, certainly not least, I was able to meet this particular author. He signed like some stuff for me, which is like super cool. So you got some signatures there. Author being Stephen A.M. Johnson. And this is the Everborn, I want to say saga now at this point in time.
Seems
because
like
you've got 2 ultimate editions of chapters 1 and 2. 1 in hardbound, 1 and 2, 3 and 4 in sort of like, trade paperback. And I want to say one shot kind of maybe, or just chapter 1 set like hundreds of years-ish. Well, definitely several, like a really big chunk of time.
You should tell them what the 2 comp titles were for it.
Which is so funny because the author wasn't there the first time, sort of like passed by. And the guy that was at the booth was like, oh, this is like Lord of the Rings and meets X-Men. And I'm like, yeah, okay, please give me that. And when we passed by again, one of my friends was just actually Steven, was like, hey, author's back. I'm like, oh shoot. I'm like, hi, can you kind of like sign this? Is this okay? And he's like, and so like when I heard that it was, you know, X-Men and Lord of the Rings, he's like, oh, that guy's a better like salesperson because I just bought everything. So that was super fun. Certainly not least, it's not here, but I do want to say that part of the nerd haul is actually just this month Fisman's Treasury of Dragons came out on D&D Beyond. And you know, whenever Dungeons and Dragons comes out with sort of like a new source book for their 5e for like a 5th edition, it's always like a combination of new worlds and new subclasses, you know, like, you know, whatever. And this time it's about dragons.
I mean,
always fun. New creatures, new dragons, new stat blocks, super fun. So there's always that. I am a huge Dungeons and Dragons fan, I want to say. And by fan, I mean like, you know, like casual bordering to I have everything.
Yep.
So not necessarily big on the history, but whatever. And then from Son of Oak Game Studios, I finally got my copy of the expansions for City of Mist.
Nice.
They finally came in the mail.
They're so pretty.
I know, and this is Into the Mist, which contains Shadows and Showdowns and Knights of Paintown, which
I love Shadows and Showdowns.
It's like, you see, if it's shiny because I haven't taken the plastic off. I kind of don't want to because I do have the PDFs as well, but it's just so. One thing I love about the City of Mist sort of like books is that they're illustrated so very well. and I just can't get enough of that. So that's the end of my nerd haul.
Well, we're now going to move into the section of this video that I have decided to call the pretty editions / multiple copy section. So Maki will start it because there is one that he is going to talk about on our behalf. This is a pretty hardcover edition of All the Stories Are True, which is basically just Cassandra Jean doing some Shadowhunters fan art that is corresponding to different classic stories. So there are a bunch of very pretty illustrations in there. My personal favorite is The Little Mermaid, because you know.
And so it's a lot of these like, oh, it's art, but then what's it about? And
yes,
so
it's lovely.
It's really, really great. And then you've got like, you know, it's all of your favorite Shadowhunter characters dreamed up, or couples, dreamed up into different sort of like scenarios. And when Alexa was sort of like flipping through it, I was like, oh my god, that's gorgeous! And look at this kind of like, silver foily kind of like, you know,
and we needed it for our collection. Is basically what
it
that
is.
was.
It is lovely, and it just sort of like fits right with
all the Shadowhunter stuff.
Yeah. And because all the stories
are true.
All right.
Okay, now we're gonna go down the stack of like pretty editions that came out. So
very nice.
The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue had a anniversary edition come out, and there are US versions and there was a UK version, and obviously I decided I wanted the UK version because it is this beautiful white version of the cover. It's got foiling on the with her name in gold. It has these forget-me-nots on the edge, and it also has a bookmark, and the edges have some fan art, and the back is actually my favorite. The October book for Illumicrate is one that I was pretty excited about because I had gotten to read it early, and I was really excited. So as usual, they sent a pin, and you might be able to see it. It's like a phoenix, basically.
That's cool.
And the book was Iron Widow, which is by Shirin J. Zhao. Beautiful cover. This is basically the story of Zetian, and she is determined to become a concubine pilot in order to get closer to the guy who was the reason for her sister's death. Her sister was also a concubine pilot. And so she successfully succeeds in her assassination attempt.
Sure.
And that marks her as an Iron Widow because she killed her partner. The concubine pilots partner up with a male pilot in order to work these giant sort of robot mech type creatures that they have because they're fighting against other aliens.
Very nice.
So she ends up killing the pilot. She is dubbed an Iron Widow, and her punishment is that she is paired with the strongest and most controversial male pilot. And it turns out that a lot of people want to kill them, and there's also a lot of things going on beneath the surface in terms of the power and chi that are used to sort of run these chrysalises, and you find out as the story goes on. It was a really good book. It very much is one of those stories that reads like an anime, so I really enjoyed it, and I needed this edition. It has this sort of like crosshatch plaid type thing on the side, on the sprayed edges. It also has this beautiful foiling on the cover.
Oh, look at that.
Of the phoenix, and it says, "You've been living a dream for long enough. Welcome to your nightmare," which is so in character for that character. Yeah. And it comes with Under the Dust jacket art, which is stunning, like stunning. Gorgeous, so I obviously was dying.
Plus the author photo of
she's literally in a cow onesie.
I think is
magnificent,
inspired, to say the least.
And it's actually signed as well. You can see that on the page, which is very exciting. Speaking of very pretty books, these match something that I got earlier this year, and I saw them and I was like, I need them. So I bought them. These are the Fairy Loot editions of Spin the Dawn and Unravel the Dusk, which are a duology by Elizabeth Lim. They have these beautiful pastel covers with incredible art on them, as you can see. And they also have great spines. They have sort of the sprayed edges here as well. I think they also have pink edges. It's kind of an ombre effect, which is pretty cool. This is a duology where that begins with a character named Maya. She disguises herself as a man in order to sort of take her father's place in a competition to become the Imperial Tailor, except that they're given a very impossible task that she has to journey forth to accomplish. The other thing about these pretty editions, they're signed, so this is signed. And obviously, because it's Fairy Loot, they have some special things going on. Right. So first, we have the hardcover design on this one. It's Maya, I believe. And of course, because it's Fairy Loot, they also have a wonderful Under the Dust jacket surprise right there.
That's right.
Which is stunning. And I'm also going to show you the one for book 2 because, you know, we're here and can't help myself because it's stunning. This is also another one that kind of reads a little bit like an anime. So, you know, clearly I have a type. when it comes to these stories. So this is the other character who I love in the books as well. He's on this foil. You can kind of see him here. It's a bit shiny. And of course there's also kind of semi-spoilery art for this one, but like, come on, it's stunning as well. So I'm obviously very pleased to have this in my collection. I still haven't read Unraveled Dusk, but I fully intend to because I now own the prettiest editions ever of this book. So it must be read. So I have 2 editions of the next book. I'm excited to own both as well. This is a new release that came out at the beginning of October. This is the regular edition of When Night Breaks, which is by Janella Angeles, and it has a sort of design under the dust jacket. And this one is signed because I bought it signed from her local bookstore.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yep, so this is, there you go. There you go. Hiding your face. This is the sequel to last year's Where Dreams Descend, which I thought was fabulous and atmospheric and whimsical and just so lush. It was basically pitched as drawing inspiration from Phantom of the Opera and Moulin Rouge, which is fabulous. This is the Illumicrate edition of that book. It has the sort of cover printed right on the book, on the hardcover, with this beautiful like ice blue foiling. And then the back says, "The competition is over, but the show has only just begun."
Nice.
Which is exciting. And this one is also signed, which is pretty cool. I still haven't read it, which makes me a terrible person, but you know, it's fine, it's fine.
Winding it down.
All right, we're down to the last couple of things. So all 3 of these things, we're gonna start with the 2 books and then there's a box. They all have the same book in them. And I really enjoyed this book. I've been telling everyone it's a very modern fairy tale book. And I also enjoyed this author's other series. So,
sure,
you know, I had to get the book. It's funny because I actually don't own the normal edition of it. I only own like these special editions. Yeah. So we have Once Upon a Broken Heart, which is by Stephanie Garber. It's the first book in her new series. So this one is the Barnes & Noble Pink edition, and this is the Illumicrate White edition. They both have special things going on for them. So Illumicrate, I believe, is signed. So it has like a signed page here. And it also has this beautiful under the dust jacket print that says, "Every story has the potential for infinite endings," which is
in pink foil,
stunning.
which is lovely.
So pretty. So, you know, we just collecting things like a Niffler because they're all shiny. And I like shiny things. I also really like what they did with the Barnes & Noble edition. So this one, it says, "Recipes of the Ancient North, translated for the first time in 500 years. And it has this beautiful gold foiling, and the book itself is a beautiful shade of pink. But we're now going to move on to the last thing in this video, which also has the same book. Slight spoiler, but, you know, I knew it was coming. Fairy Loot Box, yay! It's time to finally open it. Okay, first of all, I'm going to look for the spoiler card so that Mackie can hold it, as usual.
As per usual.
Ah, here it is. All right.
Spoiler card has a couple of folks on them as well.
Characters from the book, which is
all right.
Cool. All right, let's start with the blanket.
Right, so it is a blanket by Forensics and Flowers. It's a fleece blanket inspired by one of our favorite books, Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco.
Oh, I love I just reread Kingdom of the Wicked and it is so good. We're just gonna try and get this out because, you know, we want to see what it is.
And we love our bookish blankets here in this house.
Oh, love it. Okay.
Here, allow me to.
It's a bit more vertical shaped, but it has the snake on it and some of the flowers. And if you've read the book, you know what that's alluding to.
If you know, you know.
It's pretty cool. Oh, there's the snake on there's also a snake on the other side. There you go.
Yeah, it's got the sword.
It's got a dagger.
Oh, is that a dagger?
It's a dagger, yes.
It?
For very important reasons. All right. We have the next thing I'm seeing is a trinket tray.
Trinket dish.
Or trinket dish.
So it is a trinket dish featuring Addie.
Oh my gosh, look how beautiful that is. Oh, so stunning.
That's an Addie LaRue thing.
Stunning. Who's the designer?
Ours 28. ARZ 28.
I think she did something else also for a box earlier this year. I can't remember what.
Cool.
All right. It says keychain.
Oh, yep. It is a lore keychain.
Oh, it's a feather.
Ooh.
Does it say something on the back? Bind your fate to mine. Love
it.
Boy,
here we go.
Lore.
Right. So it's but it's by Iron and Ink Designs.
Okay.
These are a bunch of postcards from We Set the Dark on Fire. There you go.
Okay. These are the tarot cards.
Yeah. So these ones collectible tarot cards are the 5 and 6 of Pentacles. They are designed by Elgians and feature Terasai and Dio from the Raybearer.
Oh, these are pretty. The cards are pretty.
Jordan Fuego.
Actually.
Wonderful.
Love it. Okay, and then postcards?
Postcards.
Or character cards, I'm sorry.
Once Upon a Broken Heart. Character cards.
Oh, look. So pretty.
There you go.
Oh, God. so many characters, so little time.
So these are by Rosie
we're just gonna like
88.
quickly go through this. No, I don't think this one is by Rosie. This is not her art style. The character cards are illustrated by Morgana Angron, I think is what it is.
Angron?
So they're very pretty. They have this beautiful foiling. The illustration is totally her style. I'm not going to tell you who any of these characters are because you'll just have to read the book, which I highly recommend anyway. What a stunning set of cards, like seriously.
They're
so
beautiful.
stunning. Very excited about that. And obviously, since I already spoiled it for you, the book in this is Once Upon a Broken Heart. And let me tell you, when I saw this edition, because I totally cheated and peeked on it, I was like, this is the prettiest. I already ordered a normal UK edition. It hasn't come yet, but we're gonna take a minute here because right, there's the usual bookmark which matches the card that Mackie's holding as well. Then there is this character art of Jax, who is one of the characters in the series, the usual fairy scoop, and this beautiful edition, the UK, this is the UK cover, but the UK cover is blue. So their version is bright pink, and I am living because I love it so much. It also has plain pink sprayed edges on the top. The side, however, has symbols. It has a fox, a broken heart, and an arrow, which is pretty cool. But that's not all. I feel like I'm sure. So, obviously, signed, right? And then the end papers actually have art this time, which is stunning. Gorgeous. Oh no, and you think that's all that's in here? No, there's more art on the back with different characters this time.
And just when you thought that was
it, then you actually get this cover under the dust jacket in pink foil, and it says The Ballad of the Archer and the Fox. And then if you look at the side, even the spine says The Ballad of the Archer and the Fox, which is pretty cool. And then the back has the arrow. And then, last but not least, and also like one of my favorite under the dust jacket covers, is this stunning. It's stunning. Like you guys don't understand. Like if you have read it, you will know. You will know. And if you haven't read it yet, then you should, so you can get to this point. But yeah, this is an incredible edition of this book, and I'm so excited to own it. I actually never said what Once Upon a Broken Heart was about, did I?
No.
So the main character, Evangeline Fox, has pretty much grown up on fairy tales and magical curiosities. She was seeing someone, and then that someone ends up having to get married, and she thinks there's something kind of fishy about that. And so she decides, even though it's not necessarily recommended to do this, she decides that she's going to make a deal with a fate, specifically the Prince of Hearts. In exchange for him stopping the wedding, she promises to give him 3 kisses. And she thinks it's fairly simple, right? Except that it's not as straightforward as she seems. It turns out there is a bigger conspiracy afoot, and it actually takes her away from her hometown to somewhere else. And it is so fun, so delightful. I really found that story to be so unexpected for me. It has Stephanie's signature whimsical, magical writing and world building, but it really captures that feeling of a modern fairy tale, and I adore that incredibly much. So we're at the end of this book haul. Finally, we've made it here. And we hope you enjoyed seeing all of the books that we managed to acquire in the month of October. If there's anything, that you find particularly interesting, let us know. And we'd love to hear what your favorite acquisition was at the end of October. So thanks for watching our video, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!